She needed money. He needed control. But neither of them expected to fall in love. This isn't just a story about a contract. It's about heartbreak, desire, and a billionaire who finally met his match. Don't blink, because what's coming next will leave you breathless.
I never imagined my dignity could have a price. But that was before the hospital bills started piling up. Before my little brother's life hung in the balance, waiting for a surgery we couldn't afford. And before I walked into the glass fortress that is Lang Tech Tower, desperate, scared, and clinging to the hope of a receptionist job. The lobby was a cathedral of power. Cold marble floors, a ceiling so high it made me dizzy, and men in suits who didn't look twice at a girl like me. I waited for 45 minutes, resume clutched in my sweaty hands, before someone finally called my name. But it wasn't for the interview I thought I came for. Instead, they took me straight to the top floor. His floor, Viktor Lang. He stood by the window, back to me, wearing a dark suit that molded to his tall, broad frame like it was tailored by the gods themselves. He didn't turn around right away, just said in that voice, low, smooth, and maddeningly calm,
"You're Jenna Collins."
It wasn't a question. When he finally turned, those silver gray eyes scanned me with a kind of clinical detachment, like he was analyzing a deal, not a person. I hated how my skin prickled under his gaze. I hated how stunning he was. He gestured for me to sit. I didn't. He smirked.
"I don't need an assistant or a receptionist. What I need is something a bit more exclusive."
My stomach dropped. I don't understand.
"Yes, you do. 3 months. You stay in my penthouse. You attend events with me. Travel when I travel. Stay by my side. You belong to me, exclusively, for that period."
He said, stepping closer, his cologne wrapped around me, sharp, clean, intoxicating. My mouth went dry. He added,
"No intimacy required, unless you want it."
My face burned. "You're offering me money to be your escort?"
"I'm offering you $10,000 a week. You'll be safe, cared for, and your brother will get the surgery he needs."
He replied, utterly unfazed. I wanted to slap him. I wanted to scream. But mostly, I wanted to cry. Because he knew. He knew about my brother. About the hospital. About everything. This wasn't a spontaneous offer. This was calculated, predatory, and damn effective. "I'm not for sale," I said, voice shaking. He tilted his head.
"Then walk out."
And I almost did. Almost. But the image of my brother hooked to tubes, his lips pale, his little fingers clinging to mine in that hospital bed, it haunted me. I didn't say yes, but I didn't walk out either. He watched me with that unreadable expression, like he already knew how this would end. And maybe he did, because sometimes the heart doesn't decide. Desperation does. And I was drowning in it.
I thought she'd walk away. When I laid the contract on the table and gave her that number, $10,000 a week, I expected outrage. A slap across the face, maybe. Some indignant speech about how I couldn't put a price on a woman's time, her body, her presence. But she didn't. Jenna Collins stood there, quiet and still, her fingers tightening around the strap of that worn-out purse like it was the only anchor she had left in the world. Her eyes big, defiant. Search mine for what? Mercy? Guilt? She wouldn't find either.
"I'll do it."
Just like that. 3 simple words. Soft, but sharp enough to slice through the silence in the room. I felt it hit me like a goddamn punch. Not relief. Not satisfaction. Something else. Something low and primal that I hadn't felt in a long time. That deep, gut-twisting pull you only get when you want something bad. And that pissed me off. Because I don't want things. I take them. She looked fragile, standing there in that too-thin sweater, but her voice was steel. And I should have liked that, control wrapped in beauty. That's what I paid for. That's what I've always paid for. But with Jenna, it wasn't just control. It was risk. Fire. The kind of heat that burns through contracts and conditions and all the careful rules I've built around myself. "You'll move in tonight," I said, my tone clipped, businesslike. "Pretend it's a transaction, Lang. Keep it clean." She nodded once, and for the first time, I noticed the way her collar slipped just slightly off her shoulder. Delicate skin, smooth, vulnerable. I looked away. As she turned to leave, I said, "You'll find staff discreet, and the bedroom on the left is yours." She paused at the door. Her voice was quiet, but not small.
"I won't sleep with you, Viktor."
That should have amused me. It usually did, when women pretended not to want what we both knew they would, eventually. But with her, I knew better. She meant it. I let a smirk tug at my mouth. "I told you, intimacy is optional." Then she left, and the moment she did, I cursed under my breath, because I was already imagining it. The sound of her footsteps down the hall, the rustle of sheets, the way her body might arch beneath mine, how her breath might catch when I whispered her name into the hollow of her throat. No, I don't do this. Emotions are for amateurs. I've spent my life compartmentalizing, keeping work, pleasure, and vulnerability in separate, locked rooms. But Jenna Collins, she just kicked a hole in the goddamn door. And the worst part, I think I want her to come in.
The first night in Viktor Lang's penthouse, I couldn't sleep. It wasn't because of the Egyptian cotton sheets or the mattress that felt like heaven. Not even the sweeping view of New York, glittering through the glass walls like some untouchable dream. It was him, Viktor Lang, the way he lingered in every corner of the apartment, even in silence. His scent, clean, dark, expensive, still hung in the air, and the memory of signing that damn contract just hours earlier played over and over in my mind. Yes, I signed it. 3 pages. Crisp, cold, and terrifying. I sat across from him in that sterile conference room in the top floor of Lang Tech. The city buzzed beneath us, but all I could hear was the steady beat of my own heart. 3 months, $10,000 a week, exclusive companionship, total availability for travel, events, private dinners. Discretion, of course, mandatory. Intimacy, optional, but not prohibited. And at the bottom, a signature line with my name typed neatly in bold. I hesitated, just for a second. My pen hovered.
"Everything's negotiable, except time,"
Viktor had said, his voice smooth, unreadable. But time was exactly what I didn't have. My brother needed surgery, a timeline, a chance. So I signed, and now I was here, not in some cheap apartment in Queens, but standing barefoot in a penthouse kitchen at midnight, wearing the silk robe he'd left folded on my bed. My heart beat loud, my skin on fire. And then he walked in, shirtless, sweatpants low on his hips, barefoot. I should have turned and left. Instead, I froze. So did he. His eyes swept over me, slow and unhurried, like he was memorizing every detail. Not like a man who just paid for my time, but like one trying not to touch what he knew he shouldn't want.
"You should be asleep,"
He said, voice husky. I could say the same to you. He smirked.
"New surroundings tend to keep people awake."
He murmured, leaning against the counter. Or maybe it was the tension that did it. The unbearable electricity humming between us. The kind you can't fake or control. "You don't own me," I said suddenly. Quietly, he tilted his head.
"I never claimed to."
"But you paid for something."
"Yes. Your time, not your soul."
I hated that he said it like that. Like he saw right through the walls I was trying so hard to keep up. "I won't sleep with you," I said, the words sharper than I intended.
"I remember. Clause 8. Intimacy is optional."
He held my gaze. God, even the way he said Clause 8 made my stomach twist. He stepped closer. Just one step. Close enough for me to smell the clean heat of his skin. My breath hitched. My fingers clenched around the edge of the counter.
"And you don't want optional, do you?"
He murmured, voice low. I blinked. What does that mean?
It means that maybe, just maybe, you don't hate the idea of me touching you as much as you pretend to.
He said, leaning in just slightly. I should have slapped him. I should have stormed out of that room. But I didn't. Because in that moment, God help me, I wasn't sure he was wrong. And that scared me more than anything written in that contract. Because what happens when the man you're selling your time to starts stealing your heart? And worse, what happens when you want him to?
There are nights when silence is louder than any argument. And tonight, the silence between us is screaming. Jenna sits across from me on the low couch, legs tucked under her, a glass of red wine in her hand. Her lips stain the rim each time she takes a sip, and every time she sets it down, I find myself staring. She's wearing one of those satin robes again. This one is midnight blue, clinging to her curves like it was painted on. Her skin is soft and bare beneath it. I know, because I noticed the way the fabric moved when she shifted, revealing the edge of her thigh, then covering it again like a tease. I should get up. I should walk away. I should remind myself that this is a business agreement, that she's here because of money, that I made it very clear. No feelings, no complications. But my body isn't listening. Neither is hers. She laughs softly at something I said, her eyes meeting mine. There's a heat there, unspoken, unacknowledged, but unmistakable. The kind of heat that builds slowly until it's unbearable. The wine doesn't help. Neither does the way her knee brushes mine when she shifts again. And then she does it, leans forward slightly to reach for the bottle on the coffee table. Her robe slips just enough for me to see the smooth line of her collarbone, the faintest hint of lace beneath. Fuck. I clench my jaw, grip my glass tighter. Control. That's all I've ever known. All I am. I'm the man who never loses it. Not in boardrooms, not in bed, not with anyone. Until now. Until her. She pours more wine, hands me the bottle without a word, and our fingers touch barely. But it's enough. Enough to crack something open. I look up. She looks at me, and everything shifts. No words. No permission. I move. She inhales sharply, but doesn't pull away. My hand slides behind her neck, fingers sinking into her hair as I pull her toward me. The kiss isn't soft. It's not gentle. It's the kind of kiss you don't plan. One that's been living under your skin, waiting for the moment to detonate. Her mouth parts beneath mine, warm and willing, and I lose myself in the taste of her. Wine and heat, and something impossibly sweet. She makes a sound, half gasp, half moan, and presses closer. Her hand grips the front of my shirt, and I feel the silk of her robe part slightly against my chest. Her body melts into mine like she belongs there. Like we've done this 1,000 times in other lives and just forgot. I deepen the kiss, and she responds with equal hunger. It's not about sex. Not just. It's about need. Mine. Hers. A shared hunger that's been clawing at us since the moment she walked into my office with fire in her eyes and desperation in her voice. I want her. God, I want her. But then, reality punches through. 3 months. A contract. A line I swore I wouldn't cross. I break the kiss. Hard. She blinks, breathless, lips flushed, eyes wide. I stand. Take 2 steps back. My fists clench at my sides. I shouldn't have done that. I mutter, my voice rough. Her voice is barely above a whisper.
Then why did you?
I don't answer. Because I don't know. Because I do. Because the worst part isn't that I kissed her. It's that I don't regret it. And that terrifies me.
I couldn't stop thinking about it. The kiss. Hours had passed, but my lips still tingled with the memory of his. The way his hand had cradled the back of my neck, the heat of his mouth, the way he'd pulled away like he'd crossed some forbidden line. He had, and so had I, but it didn't feel wrong. It felt inevitable. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wearing nothing but his scent on my skin. I could still hear the low rumble of his voice, feel the fire simmering low in my belly. Everything about Viktor Lang was designed to keep people out, but that kiss was him letting me in. A storm had rolled in, wind rattling the windows, thunder like a warning. Still, I couldn't sleep. I got up, walked barefoot across the hardwood floors, drawn to the one place I wasn't supposed to go. His room. I didn't knock. I should have, but I didn't. And the moment I pushed the door open, he was there, standing in the dark, staring out at the rain-soaked skyline like he'd been waiting. For me, neither of us said a word. I stepped inside, closed the door behind me. The silence was thick, electric. He turned slowly, his expression unreadable. His shirt was half unbuttoned, sleeves rolled up, like he tried to relax and failed miserably. I couldn't sleep, I said, voice barely above a whisper. His jaw clenched.
Neither could I.
I didn't know who moved first. Maybe it was both of us. Maybe we met in the middle because the space between us had been screaming for this since the day we met. His hand slid into my hair. Mine fisted the front of his shirt. And when our lips met this time, there was no hesitation. No control. No pretending we didn't want this. He kissed me like he was starving. Like he'd been fighting it for too long and couldn't hold back anymore. I gasped when he backed me against the wall, lips moving down my neck, teeth scraping the skin just enough to make me whimper.
Tell me to stop.
He murmured against my throat. I shook my head. Don't you dare. And he didn't. He lifted me, strong, sure hands gripping my thighs as I wrapped myself around him. He carried me to the bed like I was breakable, but the way he kissed me, that was anything but gentle. That was possession. Clothes came off in pieces, scattered like our rules. His skin was warm against mine, solid, real. Every inch of his body pressed into me like he was trying to memorize the shape of us. Like he needed to feel every part of me to believe this was really happening. We were tangled in his sheets, breathless, our limbs intertwined in a rhythm that felt ancient. Like our bodies had known each other long before our minds had caught up. He took his time with me. Every touch was slow at first, reverent, like he was exploring. His fingers traced the curve of my waist, the dip of my spine, the inside of my thigh. He watched me, really watched me, like he needed to see every reaction he pulled from me. And when I arched into him, when I whispered his name through trembling lips, he groaned low in his throat, like he was the one coming undone.
Jenna, you're driving me insane.
He murmured, voice rough, lips trailing down my collarbone. I wasn't sure if it was a confession or a compliment, but it didn't matter. My hand slid over his back, feeling the tension in his muscles, the restraint it took for him not to lose control too fast. But I wanted his control to snap. I wanted to see what was hiding underneath the suit, the walls, the CEO. And I did. When he finally moved inside me, it was deep and slow, and I gasped. My nails digging into his skin, my heart slamming in my chest. He cursed under his breath, eyes locked on mine.
Tell me what you want.
He whispered, forehead pressed to mine. You. I breathed. Just you. And that was all it took. His rhythm grew faster, rougher. His mouth finding mine again in a kiss that was more heat than breath. We moved together again and again until there was nothing left but feeling, until I shattered beneath him, back arched, lips parted, a cry of pleasure caught in my throat. He followed with a growl, his body tense above mine, then trembling as he collapsed beside me, pulling me close, like he needed to anchor himself. The rain still tapped against the glass, but the storm inside had finally broken. He didn't speak right away, just kept his arms around me, chest rising and falling under my cheek. I expected him to pull away. He didn't. Instead, he kissed the top of my head and whispered,
Stay.
And I did. Not because the contract said I had to, but because, for the first time, I wanted to. And I think, just maybe, he wanted me to, too.
I told myself it was a mistake, that what happened between us what exploded between us was just a release of tension, a moment we both got caught in, that it fell under the umbrella of our arrangement. 3 months. Exclusive company. No questions. I reminded myself of that as I watched her walk barefoot through my penthouse the next morning, wrapped in nothing but my white dress shirt. Hair messy, legs bare, her skin still flushed from what we did in the dark. She didn't say much. Neither did I. But something about the way she glanced over her shoulder with that quiet, almost shy smile made my chest feel too tight. God, that smile. It hit harder than it should have. It wasn't just beautiful, it was disarming. And it terrified me how much I wanted to see it again. I wasn't built for this. I didn't let people in. I had rules, structure, a life I controlled down to the second. But now she was in my bed, in my space, under my skin, and I couldn't stop replaying the sound she made when she came apart in my arms. I couldn't stop thinking about how soft she was when she curled into my chest after. How right it felt. How wrong it was to feel that way. So I did what I've always done. I locked it down. I dressed, straightened my tie, composed myself with military precision. And when she stepped into the kitchen, looking sleepy and too damn tempting for her own good, I said it. Cold. Flat. What happened last night, it was just part of the contract. Her face didn't fall, but her eyes did. Just for a second. She nodded.
Right. Of course.
And then she turned away. I stood there like a coward, coffee growing cold in my hand, watching her retreat like I hadn't just spent the night memorizing her body, her breath, her moans. Liar. That's what echoed in my head. I lied to her. But worse, I lied to myself. Because nothing about last night was business. Nothing about the way I touched her had to do with obligation. It was instinct, desire, need, and it didn't stop. All day in meetings, she was there, in my mind, in my bloodstream. Her laugh echoed in my skull, haunting me. Her scent lingered on my skin like a drug I couldn't scrub off. And I didn't want to scrub it off. I wanted to hear her laugh again. I wanted her to look at me again, not with polite professionalism, but with fire in her eyes, like she had when I'd whispered her name into her mouth last night. And that thought, that single selfish thought, it rattled something in me. Because I don't chase. I don't want like this. I don't break my own rules. But then I heard her giggling downstairs, with my housekeeper of all people. And I actually stopped in the middle of an investor call to hear it better. I wanted to protect that sound, that ease, that softness, even if it wasn't mine to keep. Because somewhere in the silence between her kiss and my lie, something had cracked open inside me. And I hated it. I hated that I felt anything. But the worst part, I didn't hate her for it. I wanted more. And there's no clause in any contract that covers that.
It's in the little things. The way Viktor's hand lingers at the small of my back for half a second too long. The way his eyes follow me across the room when he thinks I'm not looking. Like I'm some equation he can't quite solve. The way his jaw clenches every time I laugh with someone else. Like he hates that the sound isn't meant for him. He thinks I don't notice. But I do. I see everything. And maybe that's what scares me. Because somewhere along the line, between the rules and the restraint, between his cold silences and heated stares, I started wanting more. It happened slowly, like sunlight creeping in through closed blinds. At first, I told myself it was just attraction, lust, the high of being near someone so powerful, so magnetic. But it's not that. Not anymore. It's the way he always brings me the exact tea I like without asking. The way he'll brush my hair behind my ear when I'm reading. His fingers lingering for a beat too long, like he's memorizing me. It's the way his voice softens when he says my name. Just barely, but I hear it. Every time. And when we pass each other in the hall and our hands brush, when he looks down at me like he wants to say something but swallows it instead, I feel it crack open in my chest. I'm falling for him, and I hate it. Because Viktor Lang doesn't do love. He doesn't open up. Doesn't let people close. He gives orders, not affection. Contracts, not confessions. But still, I feel him. I feel him at night when he kisses me like I'm the only real thing in his world. When he holds me after, not like he has to, but like he can't not. Like letting go of me would be unbearable. And then, the next morning he's gone cold again. Quiet. Pulled back behind his fortress of control. Pretending nothing ever happened. Pretending we didn't happen. He never says the things I wish he would. Never asks me how I'm really doing. Never tells me what's behind those storm-colored eyes when he looks at me like I might be the thing that undoes him. But I feel it. I know it's there. I catch it in those stolen glances. In the way his hand trembles sometimes when it touches mine. In the way he always watches me leave, but never asks me to stay. And the worst part, I want him to. I want him to let go. To admit there's more between us than heat and a damn contract. But he doesn't. So I keep pretending I don't notice. Keep pretending my heart isn't aching in silence, waiting for a man who might never say the one thing I need to hear. I'm not sure which is more dangerous. Falling for Viktor Lang, or hoping he'll fall for me, too.
I didn't know my brother was in the city. Didn't ask for a visit. Didn't want one. But there he was, standing in the marble lobby of Lang Tech like he owned the place. A smirk on his face, hands in his pockets, and that same goddamn look in his eyes that always meant trouble.
Still playing God up here, Vic? Still pretending you're made of steel?
He said, stepping into my office like no time had passed. I didn't respond. I never do when he talks like that. Instead, I poured a drink I didn't need and braced myself. Because when Liam shows up, the past isn't far behind. Liam leaned against my desk like he belonged there. Like he hadn't been gone for over a year, off living his perfectly chaotic life, far from the chains of legacy and expectations. I should have kicked him out the second he opened that smug mouth of his. But I didn't, because part of me maybe wanted to hear what he had to say. He didn't waste time before noticing her. Jenna. She was across the room, bent over one of the charity portfolios I had asked her to review. Hair pinned up in that messy twist she always does when she's focused. Lips parted in concentration. Liam raised an eyebrow.
So this is her.
I didn't answer. I didn't need to. He could see it all over me. And Jenna, sweet, observant Jenna, walked right over with that soft, curious smile of hers and introduced herself, like she didn't just walk into the middle of a landmine. And Liam, damn him, he saw it. The tension, the unspoken pull. He always sees too much.
You've run this game before.
He murmured when she stepped out to take a call.
The contracts. The exclusivity. The non-disclosure clauses. The power play. I remember those girls, Viktor.
I said nothing, because he was right. There were others before Jenna. Beautiful, temporary, controlled, no feelings, no risk, just arrangements.
But her. She doesn't look at you like they did.
He walked toward the window, hands in his pockets, tone suddenly quieter.
And you sure as hell don't look at her like you did them.
I bristled. She signed the same contract. She knew the terms.
You've got that look again, the one you had before her.
My stomach tightened. Don't, I warned, my voice low. But Liam never could shut his damn mouth, and the truth always itched beneath his skin.
You never told her about Elise, did you?
Her name felt like a punch. I didn't answer. That silence was enough. Liam leaned back, studying me like he used to when we were kids, like he couldn't decide if he pitied me or hated me for how much I hold in.
You can't keep punishing yourself forever, Vic. She died. You didn't. But if you keep living like you did, you're gonna lose everything all over again.
He said, softer this time. I stared out the window, said nothing, felt everything. Jenna came back in a few minutes later, her eyes darting between us. She smiled, but it was tighter this time, more cautious. She'd heard something. She knew something. And in that moment, I felt the walls shake. Not crash down, not yet, but crack just enough to let the cold air in. Just enough for her to see the ruin beneath. Because Liam was right about one thing. I had loved before, and I lost her in the most brutal way a man can lose something he loves, with no warning, no goodbyes, just blood and sirens and silence. After that, I made a promise. No more softness. No more vulnerability. No more love. But Jenna is undoing me one touch at a time. And if I'm not careful, she'll finish what the past started. She'll destroy me. Or save me.
I couldn't sleep. The sheets still smelled like him. My skin still tingled where his hands had been. And yet my chest felt hollow. Elise. The name had slipped from Liam's mouth like it was harmless. Just a ghost from Viktor's past. But ghosts have sharp teeth when you're trying to believe you're not just standing in someone else's shadow. He loved her once. That was clear. And me? I was what? A contract. A beautiful agreement. A woman with an expiration date. I tried to tell myself it didn't matter. That what happened earlier, the kiss, the heat, the way he looked at me like I was something precious, was just part of the illusion. Just Viktor playing his part. But then why did my hands shake when I touched my own lips? Why did my heart hurt like it was betraying me? The penthouse was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your thoughts scream louder. I padded to the window in his oversized shirt, cold glass under my fingertips, staring at the city lights, while Elise echoed in my head like a name I wasn't allowed to speak aloud. Would he ever look at me the way he looked at her? Or was I just the woman who walked in because she walked out? I didn't hear the footsteps, but I felt him before he touched me.
Couldn't sleep?
Viktor's voice was low, husky, like he hadn't slept either. I shrugged, not looking back. Hard to sleep when you're wondering who you are to someone. His hand brushed my lower back. Gentle, almost hesitant.
What did Liam say?
I turned to him, heart pounding. Enough. Just a name. Elise. He closed his eyes like the word burned.
It was a long time ago.
Was she real? I whispered.
Yes. And what I felt for her. It was real. But so is this.
His voice was hoarse. He reached for me, pulling me close like he couldn't stand the distance. His thumb traced my jaw, eyes searching mine.
You're not a replacement. You're not a shadow. You're the first thing that's made me feel like I'm alive again.
He leaned in, his lips brushing mine with aching softness. His lips crushed against mine, fierce and demanding now. As if the restraint that had held him back all this time had finally snapped. I responded in kind, my hands tangling in his hair as I pulled him closer, feeling every inch of him pressed against me. He moved us to the bed, but he didn't hurry. No, Viktor wasn't the type to rush anything, especially not this. His hands roamed over my skin, and I couldn't help but shiver at the way he touched me, as if he were memorizing every contour, every line. His lips trailed down my neck, soft and tender at first, but soon they were more urgent, more needy, as if he couldn't get enough of me. The sound of our breath filled the room, mixing with the rush of my pulse. The anticipation was nearly maddening. My body ached for him, my skin burning where he touched me. Every part of me was alive in a way I'd never known before, and every kiss, every caress, only made it more intense. When he finally took me, it was slow, deliberate. He eased into me like he was afraid of breaking something, or maybe, just maybe, afraid of how deep I was getting under his skin. But I didn't want him to hold back. I needed him to take me, all of me, and when I gave him that silent permission with a soft gasp, he didn't hesitate. His body moved with purpose, his rhythm deep and slow, as if he were trying to draw out every inch of pleasure, every drop of feeling. I matched him. My hands roamed across his back, urging him closer, and when he kissed me again, it was desperate, fevered. His hands gripped my hips, pulling me into him as he drove deeper, faster, until everything else faded away. The contract, the doubts, the ghosts of Elise. There was only us now. It felt like we were burning alive, and for the first time, I wasn't afraid of the flames. His name escaped my lips, and that sound, that raw need, was all it took for him to lose control. He pulled me tighter, deeper, until the world broke open around us. The silence that followed was thick with everything we just shared. I lay there, breathless and spent, and Viktor didn't move. He held me close, his chest rising and falling against mine. For a long time, we just stayed there, tangled in the sheets, not saying a word. But in that silence, something unspoken passed between us. It was more than just the physical, more than the pleasure. It was a promise, a truth. And as I lay there in his arms, I realized, maybe for the first time, that what was happening between us was far from temporary. It was real. There was no Elise. No before. Only this. Only now. Only him. And the terrifying truth that I was already his. Whether he wanted me to be or not.
I wasn't looking for her. The penthouse was dark, the silence broken only by the distant hum of traffic below. I had just ended a call about a merger in Berlin when I heard it. A sound that didn't belong in this fortress of glass and steel. A sob. Quiet. Raw. It stopped me cold. I followed the sound through the corridor, instinct tightening in my gut, past the open study, down the guest wing. She never cried in front of anyone. Not even me. Especially not me. Jenna was curled up by the window, her phone still in hand, her knees drawn to her chest, her face turned away from the door. I saw the way her shoulders trembled, and for the first time since she'd signed that contract, she looked small. She didn't hear me come in, didn't notice me until I said her name, low and careful. Jenna. She startled, clutching the phone tighter, and quickly wiped at her face with the sleeve of her sweatshirt.
It's okay, I needed a minute.
She said too fast, her voice unsteady, but I already knew. It was about him. Her little brother. I'd read the file. Of course I had. The contract demanded full transparency, and she hadn't hidden the truth. That she needed the money for his treatment. That the boy she practically raised was fighting something too big for a kid his age. But knowing it on paper wasn't the same as seeing her break over it. I sat beside her, slow and deliberate, giving her the space to pull away. She didn't. What happened? I asked. She hesitated. Then the words tumbled out, breathless, cracked.
The doctors called again. He had a seizure. They said they're trying to stabilize him, but they don't know if he'll make it through the week.
She swallowed hard. My hands clenched. Not because I was angry, but because I couldn't fix this. I could throw money at it, hire the best specialists, but I couldn't take that fear out of her eyes, and it wrecked me.
He's just a kid, Viktor. He didn't deserve this. He's the only person who's ever truly loved me back.
I reached out without thinking, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. That's not true. Her eyes flicked to mine, and for a second, all the walls she'd built came crashing down.
Don't say things like that unless you mean them. I'm already barely holding it together.
I cupped her jaw. Her skin was damp, flushed. She was shaking, and I could see her fighting it, trying to pretend she was fine. You don't have to hold it together right now. My voice was low, not with me. She exhaled, ragged and broken, and I pulled her into my arms. This wasn't about sex. It wasn't about control. It was something deeper, older. A part of me I thought I'd buried with Elise. But Jenna made me feel it again. The ache, the need, the helpless rage of loving something I couldn't protect. I held her for a long time, and when she kissed me, softly, trembling, tasting like tears and desperation, I didn't stop her. I kissed her back, slow and deep, until the world around us disappeared, until she wasn't crying anymore, until the ache between us twisted into hunger. We didn't speak again. Not when I carried her to bed. Not when I undressed her gently, reverently, like she was something I'd never touched enough. That night, I didn't just make love to her. I clung to her. I poured every unspoken thing into her skin, every apology I didn't know how to say, every promise I couldn't voice, every ounce of guilt that I wasn't the kind of man who could take this pain from her. and she gave herself to me. Not out of lust, but trust. She let me hold the pieces. And when it was over, when she finally fell asleep curled against my chest, I stared at the ceiling and knew I wasn't falling for her. I had already fallen, and there was no going back.
There was a moment, somewhere between the way his hand lingered on my hip in the morning and the way he whispered my name at night like a prayer, when I forgot. Forgot that this was all written in ink. Forgot that I had signed up for desire, not devotion. Forgot that this would end. And I hated myself for it. Because now, I didn't just want Viktor Lang. I loved him, even when he was cold. Especially when he was warm. In the rare smiles he didn't know I saw. In the way he held me after we made love like he couldn't bear to let me go, even though he would. Because he always did. That was the pattern. Women before me. Beautiful, willing, disposable. He made a habit of it. Signed contracts. Set limits. Kept hearts out of the equation. And I had thought I was strong enough to handle that. But then life reminded me of what I was really made of. My brother took a turn for the worse. The call came late, like bad news always does. My knees went weak. My voice cracked. My heart collapsed under the weight of helplessness. And Viktor, he didn't say a word. He just came to me. No questions. No mask. He held me that night like something inside him was breaking too. We stayed like that, curled on the couch, my tears soaking his shirt, his hand stroking my hair, for what felt like hours. He didn't tell me to be strong. He didn't offer false hope. He just stayed, and that meant everything. He canceled meetings, ignored calls, ordered my favorite food I barely touched. When I couldn't sleep, he read beside me, his presence like a silent anchor. When the silence got too heavy, he pulled me into his arms and whispered things that made no sense but helped anyway. And when the call finally came, the good one, I saw something in him I hadn't expected. Joy. Real, unfiltered joy. He smiled, truly smiled. When I told him my little brother was stable, breathing on his own again, he kissed my forehead and said,
"You needed a win."
But I could see it in his eyes. We did. That week changed something in me. And maybe in him too. But the shift was dangerous. Because now the days blurred. Each kiss deeper than the last. Each night rougher and slower and more real. And I couldn't tell where the deal ended and where we began. Sometimes, I'd wake up with his arm heavy around my waist, his breath warm on my neck, and pretend he was mine. Just mine. Sometimes, when he looked at me like I was the only thing that made sense in his world, I let myself believe it was real. That maybe he felt it too. But then a business call would come. A shadow would pass over his eyes. And I'd remember I was temporary, replaceable, and the ache would return. The hollow, burning ache in my chest that said, he'll leave you too. So I started pulling back in small ways, smiling a little less, touching a little lighter, turning away before he could read too much in my eyes. But it didn't help, because when he kissed me, I melted. When he touched me, I unraveled. When he took me, hard, slow, gentle, rough, I didn't care if it was scripted. It felt like truth, the kind of truth that ruins you. And tonight, he was ruthless with it. He came home late, hair mussed, jaw tight, that look in his eyes that made everything else in the world disappear. He didn't say a word, just pulled me against him in the hallway, his mouth crashing into mine like he needed me to breathe. I let him take control. I always did, but something in me snapped tonight. I kissed him back harder, dug my nails into his back, pushed him into the wall, and took my time. I wanted him to feel it. The love I couldn't say. The goodbye I was already mourning. Clothes came off like we were starving. Touches were rough and desperate. All teeth and gasps and whisper names. I moaned into his mouth when he lifted me into his arms, carried me to the bedroom without breaking the kiss. When he was inside me, he didn't move right away. He just looked at me, really looked, like he was searching for something he'd lost a long time ago. And I broke. I cupped his face with shaking hands. "I love you," I whispered. His eyes darkened. His jaw flexed, but he didn't say it back. Instead, he kissed me like he felt it too. And that kiss, slow, aching, endless, said everything he was too afraid to voice. But the silence after said more. He held me long after he finished, his fingers tracing lazy circles on my skin, his heart beating steady beneath my cheek. But neither of us spoke, because we both knew the contract was burning, and when the flames died, only one of us would be left standing.
She stood at the top of the staircase like some dangerous dream. The kind you don't survive. The kind that brands itself into your memory until you can't breathe without thinking about it. The dress was red. My choice. But I wasn't prepared for her in it. It clung to her body like sin itself. Soft silk over curves I knew too well, and yet would never grow tired of exploring. A slit high enough to tease, low enough to make my breath catch. Her hair was swept to one side, exposing the delicate column of her neck, where I had left a faint bruise the night before. And her lips, those lips I tasted over and over, were painted a shade of red that matched the dress, and the heat spreading through my veins. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. Jenna gave me a tentative smile, like she didn't know what power she held, like she didn't realize the room had gone silent for me the second she walked in.
"You're staring,"
she said softly, brushing a curl behind her ear. "You're impossible not to stare at," I answered, voice low and rough. Her cheeks flushed, and something about that, after everything we'd done, everything we'd been, made my chest tighten. She still blushed for me. The driver waited downstairs. The gala, the donors, the eyes, the press, it all existed in the periphery, irrelevant noise. Because tonight, I had made a choice. I wasn't taking a date. I was taking her. And it wasn't about the damn contract anymore. She descended the stairs slowly, and with each step, I felt something primal stir in me. I met her halfway, took her hand, and brought it to my lips. "You look," I swallowed, indecent, in the best possible way. She laughed, soft, breathy, and I felt it like a spark down my spine. We rode in silence most of the way, but not the cold kind, the kind thick with anticipation. Her fingers brushed mine on the leather seat, and I laced them together without thinking. I didn't let go until the car stopped. Flashes erupted when we stepped out. Cameras, faces, lights, but none of it mattered. I kept her close, my hand on her back, feeling the tremble in her skin beneath the silk.
"I've never been to anything like this,"
she whispered. "You belong here more than anyone in that room." And I meant it. Inside, people talked. Names were dropped. Glasses clinked. I smiled where I had to, made conversation when needed, but my eyes never left her. Jenna had a way of holding herself that made it impossible to look anywhere else. Graceful, yes, but there was steel under it. Fire behind the eyes. Every man in that room saw her, wanted her. I knew it. I saw it in their stares. But she was standing with me, and I wanted the world to know that. So when one of my associates leaned a little too close while laughing at a joke that wasn't funny, I stepped in. My hand slid to her waist. Possessive. Firm. She glanced at me, slightly startled, and I didn't care who heard when I said it. "She's mine." Her eyes widened, just for a second. Then she smiled, small, secret, wicked. It wasn't part of the plan. It wasn't something I ever said, but it had slipped out like instinct, like truth. Later that night, back at the penthouse, the dress lay forgotten on the floor. She was in my bed, under me, around me, and I said it again, this time into her mouth, against her skin, with every thrust of my hips. "Mine," she moaned it back, over and over, like she believed it. And I realized, with terrifying clarity, that I wanted her too, because I wasn't playing a role anymore. This wasn't about the contract. This was about the woman who had turned my world inside out, and the fact that, somewhere along the line, I'd become hers.
It was an accident. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was walking down the hall barefoot, holding my coffee mug, still flushed from the way Viktor had made love to me that morning. Slow, devastatingly deep. Like he couldn't get enough. Like it meant something. Like it wasn't just the contract anymore. And then I heard his voice. Low. Clipped. Serious.
Yes, I want it terminated before the end of the term. No payout. She's not asking for one.
Silence.
I'll cover any breach costs. Just make it clean. Quiet.
I froze. The ceramic mug slipped from my hand and shattered on the hardwood, but I barely heard it. My heart was pounding too loudly, and my skin felt like ice. Viktor's voice stopped immediately. I heard the click of a phone being set down, then footsteps. I turned and walked back toward the bedroom, forcing myself not to run. My mind was in chaos. Everything felt like it was breaking apart beneath my feet, and I didn't want him to see it happen. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my hands. They were shaking. My chest was tight, like I couldn't quite breathe. Why? Why would he end it early? We were good together, weren't we? The nights weren't just sex anymore. They were tangled limbs, late-night whispers, the way his arms wrapped around me like he was afraid I'd vanish. He kissed my wrist yesterday morning. My wrist. Who kisses someone like that if they're planning to walk away? But now it all felt like a lie. He came in a minute later.
Jenna.
I dropped my coffee. I said, not looking at him. A beat of silence.
Did you hear something you weren't supposed to?
His tone was careful, controlled. I lifted my eyes to his, and for the first time since we met, I didn't see the man who held me like I was something fragile. I saw the CEO, the billionaire who always stayed one step ahead, always calculated, always in control. Why are you ending the contract early? I asked, voice trembling despite myself. His jaw tightened.
I'm not doing this right now.
That's not an answer. Viktor stepped closer, but I backed away before he could touch me. You said I was yours, I whispered, at the gala, in front of everyone.
I meant it.
Then why does it feel like I was just a phase you're cleaning up before it gets messy? He looked at me like he wanted to speak, like something was on the tip of his tongue, but it never came. And that silence cracked me more than any harsh truth ever could. Tell me the truth, Viktor, I said, voice sharper now. Did you ever really feel anything for me? Or was this just a beautiful transaction? He flinched, barely, but I caught it.
I wanted to feel nothing. That was the point.
He admitted, eyes dark. My heart dropped. And now, he didn't answer, and I realized maybe that was the answer. I walked past him without another word, locking myself in the bathroom. My knees hit the tile floor, and I pressed my palm to my chest like I could physically hold the pieces of myself together. The worst part, I hadn't even known how deep I'd fallen until I felt myself break.
I knew something was wrong the second I stepped into the penthouse. It was too quiet, the kind of silence that screams. No soft music playing from the kitchen speaker. No low hum of Jenna's voice humming some off-key tune while she brewed coffee. No scent of her jasmine shampoo lingering in the hallway. Just nothing. Jenna, I called, my voice echoing like it didn't belong in my own home. No answer. I walked through the apartment, each step heavier than the last, until I reached the bedroom. Her closet door stood open, half empty. A jolt shot through my chest. No, she wouldn't just. She wouldn't. And then I saw it. A single envelope on the edge of the bed. My name written in her handwriting. Careful, elegant, torn at the edges like she'd hesitated before sealing it. I didn't move for a full minute. Just stared at it, heart pounding like a war drum in my ribs. Then I picked it up, fingers trembling, actually trembling, and tore it open.
Viktor, I don't know how to say goodbye to you, so I won't try. Maybe this letter is cowardice. Or maybe it's the only way I know how to leave without begging you to ask me to stay. And I can't do that, not again. I can't pretend I don't feel everything. You once told me you wanted control. that this was never supposed to get personal. And I believed you. I told myself I could handle that too. But I fell for you. God, help me, I fell for you. Not the man who signs contracts and wears tailored suits like armor. The one who held me after I cried about my brother. The one who stayed up watching old movies with me when I couldn't sleep. The one who kissed me like the world was ending. But maybe I was the only one falling. So I'm leaving before I shatter in front of you. I hope one day you realize this wasn't just an arrangement. It was everything. Jay.
My hand dropped to my side. I didn't know how long I stood there, staring at the spot she used to sleep. The pillow that still held the shape of her head. The ghost of her perfume in the air. The memory of her smile carved into the walls. The pain hit slow, like a delayed bullet finally reaching the heart. She was gone, and I hadn't stopped her. I'd been so goddamn afraid of feeling anything real that I'd held her at arm's length until she slipped through my fingers. And now she was out there, somewhere, alone, believing she didn't mean enough to fight for. I sat down on the bed, let her clutched in my hand like a lifeline, and exhaled a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. She wasn't a distraction. She was the one thing I didn't know I needed, until she was gone.
It's strange how quickly a luxury penthouse can become a fading dream. Strange how fast the scent of a man can be erased from your skin, but not from your mind. I was back to where it all began, to my small apartment with peeling paint and uneven floors. Where silence wasn't peace, it was a void. The only noise was the hum of the refrigerator, the occasional creak from the ceiling above, and the sound of my own breath as I tried not to fall apart. Because my brother was still in the hospital, still hooked up to machines that beeped in steady rhythm, like a fragile heartbeat I couldn't control. I visited him every day, held his hand, smiled through the fear, and then I'd come home to this emptiness, and wonder how the hell I was supposed to forget Viktor Lang. I told myself I could do it, that the man who had given me so much and taken even more didn't deserve my tears. But then came the call.
Miss Hale.
Yes?
This is St. Joseph's billing department. I just wanted to let you know the balance for your brother's surgery has been paid in full.
My spine straightened. What?
All of it. Anonymous donor. No name, no message. Just cleared.
My phone nearly slipped from my hand. I gripped it harder, but it wasn't enough to stop the shaking. I didn't need confirmation. I knew. Viktor. It was him. He paid for the surgery, without a single word, without telling me, without coming to see me, without asking anything in return. He just disappeared, and that's when I broke. Not loudly, not with screams or shattered glass. Just quietly, fully, I sank to the kitchen floor, knees against cold tile, and let the tears come, because he did care. Because maybe, just maybe, I hadn't been a game to him. Maybe those nights, those touches, the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching, maybe that had been real. But if it was real, why did he vanish? Why give me hope and then leave me with silence? I wanted to hate him. I wanted to forget him. But instead, I sat in the dark, whispered his name like it still belonged to me, and asked the one question I couldn't escape. Where are you, Viktor? And why won't you come back for us?
My world has always been built on precision. Deals, numbers, discipline, cold, clean lines, unbreakable rules. And now, it all feels hollow. She's gone, and the silence she left behind is the loudest sound in my life. I've tried to drown it, buried myself in meetings, poured into contracts, ran mergers like a man possessed. But nothing numbs the ache in my chest, because she's not here. Jenna. I still see her when I close my eyes. The curve of her mouth when she smiled without fear. The way she tilted her head when she challenged me. The softness I didn't know I was starving for until she gave it to me. And I threw it away, because I was a coward in a custom suit. I thought cutting her loose would protect her, that she deserved someone whole. But I was wrong. She didn't want perfect. She wanted me. And I let her walk out that door thinking she was replaceable. She left a letter, a few words scrawled in her shaky handwriting. She told me goodbye, but I never said it back, and I'm not going to. Not until I look her in the eyes and tell her what I should have said the moment I realized she mattered. I'm done with bodyguards, done with contracts, done pretending I don't care. I'm going to find her. No GPS, no damn assistant, no lawyers arranging meetings or checking NDAs. Just me, with the truth. I drive myself for the first time in years, past the city limits, past the glowing skyline that used to feel like mine. Now it feels cold, irrelevant, because I know where warmth is, and it's in her. I park in front of the hospital. I don't even know if she's inside. I just know this is where I'll start. I walk through those glass doors with my heart in my hands. And for the first time in my life, Viktor Lang, the man who never hesitates, I am terrified, because I'm not here to win. I'm here to ask for forgiveness, for one more chance, for the kind of love I never thought I was allowed to want. And if she tells me to go to hell, I'll still be hers. Every broken, brutal, aching inch of me. Because somewhere along the way, I stopped playing God with contracts and power, and fell for the one woman who taught me how to feel. This time I choose her, no matter what it costs.
I wasn't prepared to see him. Not here. Not like this. No tailored arrogance. No cold stare. No polished, untouchable billionaire. Just Viktor, standing under the flickering hallway light of the hospital, looking like a man stripped bare. I froze. Not because I was scared of him, but because I wasn't. There was something different in his eyes. Something raw. And when he said my name, it was softer than I'd ever heard it. Almost reverent.
Jenna.
I clutched the vending machine coffee like it was armor. I'd spent days trying to stitch myself back together. Told myself he didn't care. That I was just another girl in a long list of well-compensated distractions. But then I learned what he did for my brother. Paid for the entire surgery. Quietly, without credit. Without wanting anything in return. I should have hated him for the confusion. Instead, I hated how much I still wanted to run into his arms and believe every impossible dream.
I know I'm the last person you want to see.
He said, taking a careful step closer.
But I had to come.
I looked at him, really looked, and what I saw cracked something open in me. His jaw was tight, but his voice trembled. His clothes looked like they hadn't been changed in 2 days. And his eyes, they weren't just tired. They were haunted.
I ended the contract. Burned the damn thing.
He said quietly. I blinked. My lips parted, but no sound came.
I don't want anything from you. No agreement. No rules. Not even forgiveness. If you can't give it, I just needed you to know.
He swallowed hard.
I love you. Not because I can control you. Not because I bought time with you. But because you're the only thing that ever made me feel human.
The hallway felt too quiet. The air too thick. I could hear the beep of machines down the corridor, a nurse's soft footsteps. But all I could focus on was him. Viktor Lang, powerful, merciless, unattainable, now standing in front of me with his heart bleeding through his words. And mine broke wide open. I thought you just wanted to end things, I whispered. He shook his head.
I wanted to protect you from me. I was wrong.
I stepped forward slowly, and when I reached him, I didn't speak. I just placed my hand over his chest, right where his heart thundered against my palm. I changed too, I said, tears stinging the corners of my eyes. You made me feel like I mattered. He leaned down, his forehead against mine. There was no rush, no need for games, just the truth between us, finally exposed to the light. His lips brushed mine like a vow. No heat this time, no hunger, just something deeper. Love, quiet and terrifying and real. I didn't need his money. He didn't need to own me. All we needed now was us.
Love, it turns out, is louder in the quiet moments. Like the way she hums when she's brushing her hair in the morning, barefoot and still sleepy. or how she dances in the kitchen while burning pancakes, utterly off-key, unapologetically hers. We don't have a contract anymore. We don't need one. We have mornings that stretch into afternoons, and nights that don't end in walls being built between us. We have real. And fuck, real is messy, but it's everything. Jenna's laughter fills our home now. And home, for the first time in my goddamn life, doesn't feel like a cage. It's her. Her coffee mugs scattered across the counter. Her books half open on the couch. Her clothes invading my closet, and her scent on my pillow. And her brother Eli is finally smiling again, recovering, healing. Sometimes I catch Jenna watching him, eyes glassy with a kind of peace I died to protect. And I knew then what I had to do. I built empires, closed billion-dollar deals. But the proudest thing I've ever done is put her brother's name on the front of a new foundation, the Eli Collins Initiative, a nonprofit that gives kids in critical care access to what the system won't. Hope, resources, life. When I showed her the sign on the building, she broke down crying in the passenger seat, clutched my hand so tight I could barely breathe from the weight of it. No contract ever came close to that kind of bond. And now here we are, a Sunday afternoon, rain tapping the windows. She's curled on the couch, wearing nothing but one of my shirts and her reading glasses, legs draped across my lap like it's the most natural thing in the world. She looks up and catches me staring.
What?
She asks, voice soft, eyes teasing. I lean in, brushing her hair back. Nothing. Just thinking how beautiful you look when you're pretending not to be smarter than me. She laughs, rolling her eyes.
You're lucky I love you.
I reach into my pocket. My hand brushes velvet. The weight of the ring feels heavier than it did this morning. Not because I'm unsure, but because I've never wanted anything to go right this badly in my life. I wait until she sets her book down, until the moment stretches like warm sunlight through the windows. Then I shift beneath her, reaching for her hand. She stills, eyes narrowing just a little.
Viktor?
I drop to one knee. No audience, no flash, just us. Jenna Collins, the only thing I ever did right without planning was falling in love with you. Her lips part, her breath catches. I don't have fine print, no clauses, just one question. I open the box. The ring inside sparkles like her eyes in candlelight. Will you marry me? Silence. One heartbeat. Two. And then she throws herself at me, arms around my neck, tears already soaking her cheeks.
Yes. Yes. God. Yes.
We collapse onto the rug, her laughter breaking into my mouth as I kiss her, slow, deep, full of everything we've been through. And I realize this isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning. When we get to write together, no rules, no limits, just love, wild and perfect and free.
They say no one remembers the exact moment a dream becomes real. But I do. It was the second the chapel doors opened, and I saw the two people I love most in this world, my little brother, healthy and glowing, standing proudly in a navy blue suit, and Viktor, waiting at the altar, his eyes locked on me like nothing else existed. The music faded. My heartbeat didn't. My heels clicked softly against the aisle, but I didn't feel the ground. I was floating, wrapped in ivory lace, sunlight through stained glass, and a kind of love I never thought I was worthy of. Eli stood next to Viktor, strong and beaming. When our eyes met, he smiled wide, full of life, full of joy, full of everything I'd fought so hard to give him. And Viktor, God, the way he looked at me, like he'd stopped breathing the moment I walked in, like he could see every step we'd taken to get here, every night we'd burned, every wound we'd opened, every moment we tried and failed and tried again. When I reached him, he whispered,
You're the most dangerous thing that's ever happened to me.
And then, smirking as he took my hand,
Because I'll never survive loving anyone else.
we said our vows surrounded by candlelight and roses. And when he kissed me, the world fell away again. Later in Italy, the Amalfi breeze carried the scent of lemon trees through the villa balcony. The sky outside was a slow-burning gold, soft over the sea, and we were alone. Finally, I was still in white. Not the wedding dress, something thinner now. Silk, barely there. Viktor leaned against the bed frame, watching me walk across the room like I was still at the altar. His shirt was unbuttoned. His lips curled a second. I crawled onto the bed. No contracts. No rules. Just us. Viktor's touch wasn't rushed. It was reverent. He peeled the silk from my shoulders with maddening patience, his knuckles brushing the skin he'd memorized 100 times, but still treated like a discovery. My breath hitched as he kissed the line from my collarbone to the top of my breast, lingering there, like a silent vow.
Slow. I don't want to miss a second of this.
He murmured, his voice rough with restraint. I wrapped my legs around him, my fingers threading through his hair as he slid inside me. Deep, sure, like he belonged there. And he did. The rhythm was unhurried, intimate, intoxicating. There was no performance between us anymore. No pretending, just raw, aching need and a love that pulsed hotter than the candle flames around us. I moaned his name when he whispered mine. He kissed the corner of my mouth, my shoulder, the place just below my ear that made me lose myself entirely. His hands were everywhere, possessive, gentle, worshiping me like he wasn't making love to my body, but to my soul.
I've never wanted anything the way I want you. Not just tonight. Always.
He said against my lips, his movements deepening. Our climax wasn't silent. It was a symphony of breathless moans, shattered control and trembling limbs, like we were breaking open and being rebuilt in each other's arms. When I came, it was with his name on my lips and his eyes locked on mine. Dark, wild, full of something I'd never seen in him before. Vulnerability. When he followed seconds later, collapsing onto me, his chest rising hard against mine, we stayed like that, sweaty, tangled, skin on skin, heart to heart. Hours later, when we lay tangled in each other, the moonlight painting our skin, Viktor traced his thumb over my ring.
You're not mine because of this. You're mine because you chose me. Every day. Even when I didn't deserve it.
I turned toward him and smiled. Then, let's keep choosing each other. Every day. For the rest of forever. No walls. No masks. No contracts. Only love. Only us.